Hey guys, it's Phoebe from Who's Phoebe, and today is the day my channel has finally regenerated. So today's Doctor Who video is my review on the Ark. I watched the Ark and I have a lot to say about it. I also have new upload times as well. I just want to point that out, that I have new upload times as well, like new upload schedules. Tuesday will still be my normal upload schedule, that's not changing, but also Thursdays is going to stay the same, but Sundays now as well. So I've got 3 different days to upload for you. I should have filmed this video yesterday but didn't. So you're also expecting like changes with other YouTubers. You'll probably also be expecting like companion files, you know. I'm going to start doing companion files. Anyway, today is my review on the Ark. Now, I watched the Ark and I've got very diverse opinions about this particular episode. Like, I'm not a massive fan of it, but I'm going to break down what I thought of the episode into 3 sections. I'm going to start with the negatives, then do the positives, and then do my overall opinion on what I thought of the episode. So, I'm not a massive fan of this episode because it reminded me too much of COVID with the whole... Also, Dodo kind of bothers me with her speaking in Queen's English 1 minute and then her speaking in a normal London accent the next. I did like the fact that the Doctor and friends called it the Ark. I thought that was an interesting element to the story in so many ways. Obviously, we have the monoids, which are not immune to the common cold, which Dodo brought on board, which is what kind of gets me with her character. She brought it on board, which, you know, isn't great. So yeah, so obviously the Doctor has to hurry up a vaccine, which is not enough to stop a second wave, which reminds me a lot like COVID, which is why this episode kind of bothered me a lot, because you know of the whole COVID situation. I did like a few of the elements to it. A few of the elements were really great. The Doctor working out a vaccine to make people immune to the cold, so if they got it then they wouldn't like die like what half of them did, you know. So I did like that element. I also liked the set. The set was incredibly well used. The Doctor and Kai were really well used. If you're wondering why I'm saying Kai, it's because it's easier than me actually saying Stephen and Dodo half the time. I liked the elephants. I liked how it was like a spaceship. It wasn't like an actual forest. It was more of a forest inside a spaceship, which reminds me of the Matt Smith 2-part, the time of the Forest of Angels and Flesh and Stone, you know, with the whole like forest being inside a spaceship. That's what this kind of reminded me of. Now on to my overall opinion. This episode for me is a kind of a bit of a diverse episode for me. There were bits of it that were good and bits of it that were okay. There was a lot of dialogue and a lot less action. I like my Doctor Who a bit more action-y than I do dialogue-y, and it's definitely one of those things where, you know, it's not that great. Also on my calendar today's Doctor Who monster is the Garm, which, you know, I've got this Doctor Who calendar, monsters and aliens, and you get the doctors for the weekends, but you get the monsters for during the week, which is quite good, which is quite nice. But yeah, so it was definitely like, I prefer my Doctor Who more action-y, more action-packed, and it didn't feel like that for me. I also found it incredibly hard to follow as well. Like, it was an incredibly hard episode to follow. You had to really pay attention to it to follow the dialogue. So yeah, and it reminded me too much of COVID, the year that we've already had, and it's not an episode it's not a serialized story I'm ever gonna go back and rewatch again, because, you know, I don't want to be reminded of COVID. Flux took away that worry for me. Flux took that courage away, you know, that kind of year away from me. So yeah, it's definitely not a serialized story I'm ever gonna revisit. Now, Dodo was the only one who bothered me in this particular story, because she kept speaking in Queen's English one minute and then, you know, her accent changed again. And it just got on my nerves. It was getting to that point where it got onto my nerves. So in overall, the episode wasn't bad, but it's definitely not one I'm ever going to rewatch again. Unless I'm really bored, or less I'm ill, and I find classic Doctor Who to be one of those things I turn to if I'm ill. So, you know, you never know, it could happen again, and my opinion down the line later on in the years might change. But yeah, Stephen was okay actually. Stephen was actually really good in this episode, acting like a negotiator when the Doctor, Dodo and Stephen were all, you know, like in prison from them. Now, if you guys have watched the arc, you know what I'm going on about. It's one of those classic episodes you either love or hate. And I'm sorry guys, I'm in the hate category. It's not my favourite, and it probably definitely won't be ever. William Hartnell's, at this point, his health was deteriorating. So even though he was great in this particular episode, in this particular story, his health was starting to deteriorate, and it was getting to that point where you could hear him messing up his lines. So yeah, it was definitely not that particularly great episode for me. It definitely wasn't as action-packed as I would have liked. I would have liked a bit more memorable characters in that. Obviously they return years later and the mermaids are actually talking, which is very odd. So yeah, so in total, this episode for me didn't really do it as a whole for me. Like, it didn't really satisfy my Doctor Who kind of mood for me. It didn't have memorable characters in it. It didn't have memorable creatures in it. I mean, the mermaids, really, like, come on. So yeah, it didn't have memorable characters or creatures for me to remember. So it's one of those episodes that I'm going to forget further down the line. I'm going to forget the monsters in it, and I'm going to forget the side characters. If anything, the characters on the side were a little bit wooden. They were a little bit wooden on the side, the characters. So, you know, they were a little bit wooden, the acting. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be one of those episodes I review. Now for the rating. I have to give this, I'm sorry, a 3 out of 10. I'm sorry, but I'm being fair here. It reminded me too much of COVID. The entire story reminded me too much of COVID, and it just wasn't that great. It didn't satisfy me as a Doctor Who fan. It didn't satisfy me. That's it really for my reviews. More stuff on my channel regenerating. There's going to be like loads of companion files, Doctor files, you know, files on every single Doctor that I'm doing. So yeah, watch out for those. Also, if you're new here, please click that big red subscribe button. I appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, and also click the notification button so you get notified of all my videos. Remember, I'm now uploading Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, so you get 3 videos a week, because there is a lot of classic episodes I need to get through. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up. The next modern review I'm doing is The Legend of the Sea Devils, so you'll probably get a few bits of Sea Devil content between now and spring when the actual episode of the Sea Devil airs, because they were the one monster I said to myself I really want to return. So I'm going to be watching the Sea Devil episodes. Speaking of which, the Sea Devils haven't appeared in Doctor Who in years. The last time they appeared was in Warriors of the Deep. The first time they ever appeared was in Sea Devils with the 3rd Doctor. So they never appeared with the 4th Doctor, but they did appear with the 5th Doctor. But they never appeared with the 10th or 11th or 12th Doctors or 9th. So to see them back again, I am so psyched. So yeah, I will see you guys soon. I'll see you guys soon with with another Doctor Who review. Until then, I've been host Phoebe. Have a wibbly wobbly timey wimey day.